So bringing out your next speaker, he's somebody that's taught me an awful lot, not just in the world of sales, negotiation, business, but just in life in general, which might seem a little bit strange, bearing in mind that I'm almost a decade older than him. He's somebody that's inspired me more, well, I'd say more than he ever knows. He probably does know, because I've told this story many, many times, and I've introduced him many, many times on many stages. And some of you have also been coached by him. Some of you would have seen him speak before. And he is a wealth of knowledge in a vast range of different areas, specifically understanding consumer buying behaviors. He started his first business at the age of just 14 years old, which is inspirational in itself. He's what I would call a true entrepreneur. He started, grown, and sold 6 different businesses. 6 different businesses. True entrepreneur, right? He was also named, alongside myself, the Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 2017, and for the last 2 years running in the top 100 young entrepreneurs in the country. Fortunately for him, he's got a few years to go whilst he can keep receiving those awards. I'm growing out of them, shall we say. Currently, he heads up one of the fastest growing real estate investment companies in the whole of Australia, Corbett and Associates, that we founded back in 2017. And most importantly, I've known to see him grow as a loving husband to his beautiful wife, Brielle Corbett. Now, not Brad. I want to say Brielle D'Amico. It just flows nicely. But Brielle Corbett. And he's the co-founder here at ISR Training, the co-founder of the SWISH methodology, and the training that has helped many of you guys grow over the years. So without further ado, please welcome to the Zoom, Mr. Jack Corbett.
Thank you very much, mate.
He's clapping himself. I love it.
I really, really appreciate it. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's well. This is different for me. I'm very much used to being stood on the stage, hundreds of people in a room, and I'm a very energetic person. I rely on you to give me your energy, and then all action, all arms and legs, a million miles an hour, jokes and innuendos in between. We tend to have a good couple of hours together. So bear with me, technology is not my strong point, and this is definitely a little bit unique to me. So hopefully you'll help me and you'll encourage me through this, as I'm sure I will do you guys as well. So Ryan, humbled, man, completely humbled, completely grateful to arrive back at a platform 6 months later and sit back and sort of take stock and say, wow, Swish and ISR Training in its entirety, that 6 years and 8 months ago, 18 months ago, was a pen and a piece of paper, 2 British young men, a bit of passion and a desire to change the world. We genuinely believed, stupidly, probably naively, that we could change the entire global impression of the sales industry and of salespeople, in the hope that we could bring some nobility back to that trait. And I dreamt that one day children would be leaving school, teenagers, 14, 15, 16, 17 years of age, and say, when I grow up, I want to be a salesperson. Where if I threw that question back at you guys really quickly, get into the chat section for me. If I said to you, a stereotypical run-of-the-mill salesperson, give me just one word that you would use to describe that type of character. Give me just one word that you would use to describe a stereotypical run-of-the-mill salesperson. Sleazy, Del Boy, grub, pushy, dodgy, annoying, untrustworthy, sneaky, slippery, energetic, dodgy, excitable, anything it takes. So whilst there was some minute positive context to those answers, the vast majority of you said untrustworthy, unlikable, pushy, lying, manipulative, money-orientated individuals. But yet, strip it back to its core, every single one of you in this session today is a salesperson. So what I ask you to appreciate is that we wear a stigma. We wear a badge of unethical nature, which has been left to us from our forefathers. And I guess what we believe with Swish is just one salesperson at a time, one business at a time, one industry, one country at a time, that 10 to 15 years from today, honesty, transparency, ethics, and realness will be the foundations from which successful business is completed. So thank you, all of you, for...
We've just got you back, JC. You're just frozen a little bit there, mate. Alrighty, guys. Well, obviously we can see that Jack has frozen a little bit there, and he was just kind of getting a little bit of traction as well. So what I will get you guys to do whilst we're fixing his technology, and when I say we, I mean somebody else behind the scenes, to fire any questions that you would like to ask Jack around sales. Start typing them in for me, and start to think about how can you kind of dissect his brain. What made him want to start a business at 14 years old? Why does he want to keep continuing to start, grow, scale, and sell other different businesses around the world? How do you keep that desire? How do you keep that motivation? So on and so forth. And whilst he's doing that, all right, Nick's got one. So let me start writing a few of these questions down as well. So what is his constant motivation? What's his constant drive?
Just arrived back in here. My apologies, guys, for a little technical difficulty.
You're all good, Jack. We've just got a couple of questions coming in whilst that happens. So if that does happen again, I'll just go through into those questions. And we might even, mate, if I go pick up the phone and ring you and put you on loudspeaker, we'll do that.
No problems at all. It's, yeah, just asking in the chat section there, because it may not have come through as my re-arrival to this session has restarted my chat. But just a quick yes or no. Can I ask, who have I met in here before? Who have I had the pleasure of working with previously? With a quick yes or no. Megan, I have. Nicole, I have. Emma, I have. Neil, I have. Karen, I have. Some new ones. Leah, I haven't. Jessica, I haven't. Dan, I haven't. Okay, amazing, guys. That's fantastic. Well, for a 30-second overview and nothing more than that, for those I've never had the luxury of meeting before, my name is Jack Corbett. As Ryan suggested, he and I were the co-founders of this organization, ISR Training. And in April of 2020, I was absolutely blessed to be able to exercise my own exit strategy, which meant that I was no longer operationally required inside ISR Training. And it was left in the extremely capable hands of Ryan Tuckwood to be able to continue to take that business forward. I'm born and raised in Birmingham in the UK. Unfortunately, was never great at school, was actually expelled from the traditional schooling system at 14 years of age. My Asperger's syndrome always made it very difficult for me to be able to concentrate. But then I started my first business at 14, and a bit like Ryan said, the entrepreneurial journey from there is one of starting, scaling, and selling businesses. And hopefully there'll be a little bit of insight that I'll be able to share with you guys as we go. So today's session, the psychology of the modern day consumer. Could I just ask you to jot that down at the top of the piece of paper for me on the notes that you guys are going to keep throughout the chat today? Subject, the psychology of the modern day consumer. The aim of this session is to break down exactly how and why people make certain decisions whenever they are in the consumer process. And how can we aid you to give you the very best probability that when they are making a decision, they ultimately decide that your product or service is the right one for them. I strongly believe, and I'm extremely passionate about the fact that I believe sales is arguably one of the most globally essential skills in the entire world. I believe it allows us to recession-proof ourselves. Now, there's probably no more topical time than right now. The last 7 months in Australia have been the most unique in most of our lifetimes. And during that period, our economic decline is quite simply driven by a lack of consumer spending. We would not be in recession if our GDP was inclining, and our GDP would not be declining if the general consumer had more confidence to spend. Now, quite usually, when we do not have an inherent confidence to spend, we seek the advice of a qualified or experienced professional. So let me ask you a really quick question, just so I can pick on somebody. Just throw me your industries into the chat section for me. What industry do you currently work in, or is your business operating in for me? Amazing. So we're going to pick on, say, let's go towards like Nicole Anderson and Emma Baxter, right? If you want to submit your tax return and implement some tax minimization strategies, you do not call the plumber. If you are going through a legal battle and you're needing to prepare some documentation and or go to court, you do not call the baker. You call Bell Legal, Nicole Anderson, because she's going to help you with her skilled and experienced professional skill set to overcome the challenge that you're facing at that time. So you may have found that while some of your businesses, many may not, but some of your businesses may have had a decline in sales during this global pandemic. But I absolutely assure you that if you had a greater skill set, a wider range of tools or abilities to be able to give people that confidence that the decision they are making is both beneficial to them in the short and the long term, then more sales would be made, more transactions would be completed, more revenue would circulate, more GST would be collected, and our country would very quickly be back in an economically inclining position. So hopefully you view the skill sets that we're going to discuss in the next 45 minutes of this session to be ones that can not only change your life, change the operation of your business, but ultimately can begin to move our entire country's economy forward, continuing to only help those of us that are in business, homeowners, people who have share portfolios, and everything above that. So inside your industries, my only other question before I start to share information with you is, how do you make your sale? Is it done via e-commerce? Is it done face-to-face or over a telephone? Do you do a lot of email quoting? Is a lot of it done by inbound or by outbound traffic? If you could give me as much sort of insight into that as possible, I can ensure the information I share with you is customized to your sales method. All right, so you're definitely not making it easy for me by basically telling me, Ryan, that in this you've got about 25 different industries with about 15 different ways to sell their products. So
do your magic, mate.
Yeah, I love a good challenge. Let's have a play with this. Okay, I'm going to go some yes or no answers. Do you agree with me that we are the heaviest consuming generation that has ever existed? Yes or no? We are the heaviest consuming generation that has ever existed. Yes or no? Okay, a pretty much exclusive yes. So that would say to you that we are the consumer generation. We are a generation of people with whom get a vast amount of fulfillment physically, emotionally, spiritually. We get a burst of endorphins. We get a huge dopamine hit when we want something and then we go and get it. Aussies love to buy. If I said to you on here, and this is not like Ryan's test, the first 10 people to say yes don't actually get it, but if I gave you my credit card and told you guys you've got $10,000 and 1 hour to use it, who in here would like to do that? Is there anybody in this session that's open to having my credit card in their hand and an hour to go and enjoy themselves? Chris Wheeler, no. Brilliant. One person, you're a cheap night out. You can come out with me more often, Chris. All right. So the reality is we love to consume. And if I said to you guys right now, off the top of your head, in less than 10 seconds, with $1,000 at your disposal, tell me exactly how you'd spend it, you would be able to find that answer very, very quickly. Is it then fair of me to say that we are the most informed consumer generation that has ever existed? Are we the most informed consumer generation that has ever existed? I've got most saying yes, one saying quite possibly, and I've got Ian, Verico, and David Noland at the moment that are suggesting probably or possibly not. I think we are the most informed consumer generation that has ever existed, because in 1991 initially with the birth of the internet, but in 1997 with the birth of a very powerful website called Google, we had more readily available complementary information on all things businesses, products and services than we had ever had before. A little quote from me is that in 1997, word of mouth became word of mouse. Word of mouth became word of mouse. We are the most informed consumer generation that has ever existed. We have more communication platforms than have ever existed, but we actually speak to each other less than we ever have done in human history. Word of mouth has become word of mouse. So you guys are telling me that you love to consume. But can I ask you a question? With a yes or no, do you enjoy being sold to? With a yes or no, do you enjoy being sold to? That does not surprise me that Peter Curran said yes. Depends on the sale. I like it when people try. But I would say 80% of you have said no. So I find it funny that when I do this in a room full of people and I say, show me your hand, who in here loves to buy? 90% of the room have got their hand in the air. I say, brilliant, now keep your hand in the air. Who in this room loves to be sold to? And nearly 80% of people will put their hand down. The gross fundamental problem in the consumer process in 2020 is the consumer psychology of one that I want to make my own decisions. I want to feel empowered, educated, and in control of every single step of the consumer process. And the second that I feel like you are trying to press your preferences on me, as opposed to customizing your offering in accordance with my true need, my desire can be like night and day. Like a flick of a switch, I can immediately make the decision that you are no longer an organization that I wish to deal with. And that's something that I ask you to very much keep in mind. 2020 leading into 2021 is going to be the birth of the anti-selling or the reverse selling generation. This is going to be the first time that not selling somebody something is the best way to sell it to them. As a matter of fact, even going one step further and saying to somebody that this may not be right for them, or, they may not wish to make a decision on this today. If there's a sign on the wall that says wet paint, don't touch, what does your brain keep telling you? What does that brain keep telling you? Do it, do it, do it. And then you touch it and you got paint all over your fucking fingers. And you go, oh, what did I do that for? But the human intrigue was to do the opposite to what I was being advised to do. If a door says do not enter, VIPs only, I'm desperate to see what's behind it. Desperate to see what's behind it. If Ryan right now said to all of you, I've just sent you an email, but please do not open it until after Jack finishes speaking. Tell me the truth. Who in here is going to open that email straight away? Tell me the truth. Yeah, almost all of you. So we don't follow simple instructions, do we? Yeah? Everybody do me a favor. Put your hand as high in the air as you can for me. Everybody do me a favor. Put your hand as high in the air as you can for me. Okay, now do me a favor. Put it higher. Put it higher. Okay. I just asked you the same question 3 times. I said, put your hand as high in the air as you can. And you did. Then I asked you to put it higher. And you did. So you just didn't listen to me the first time, did you? You just decided, I'm going to follow half of that instruction in accordance with my preferences. So we love to buy and we hate to be sold to. So let's talk a little bit now then about how the human brain works. You guys may understand that the most primitive or the first brain that a human being developed, and I apologize if the comment that I'm about to make is conflicts with anybody's religious beliefs. It is not my intention in any way, shape or form to offend. The opinion I'm about to share comes more from kind of a scientific belief, Darwin's theory of evolution, that the human being was once a primeval being, and we've developed over time to what we are today. And in that, the oldest brain that we own, often referred to as the reptilian complex, the lizard brain, is fundamentally our fight or flight brain. It acts very subconsciously, and its primary function is to defend us, to avoid danger and to avoid harm. The reptile brain, the lizard brain, only has a 2-word dialogue. It only knows how to say stop or go. That's it. You could call that yes or no if you wanted to. but that's the only two words or actions it knows. Yes or no, stop or go. But because it is a defender, it's a defense mechanism, and it's designed to avoid danger and avoid harm, whenever the reptilian complex is posed with a decision, what's its default answer? What's the safest of those two answers? Yeah, the safest answer is just to say no, isn't it? The safest answer is just to say no. So let me have a chat with Diana in here. I can see Diana's a performance coach, right? So me and Diana have had a really good conversation. I'm looking for, the next step of my life. I want to move forward in my relationships, my work, my fitness, and Diana's the lady that's going to get me there. She proposes me a performance coaching package, and I say to her, no. I don't wish to proceed with it. If I call Diana back in 1 month or 3 months' time and say, hey, Diana, I've changed my mind and I would like to go ahead with your package, is she still going to allow me to become a customer? Is she still going to take my money, take my custom, and do business with me? Everybody's saying, yes, Gene Stone said it might cost more. Yeah, it might. It might cost less. I don't know. But what I do know is the opportunity will become no less valuable to me if I was to engage it at a stage or time of my own preference. Whereas let's flip that on its head. Diana offers me a package and I say, let's go for it. I transfer my $10,000 and I'm ready to change my life. 6 weeks later, my car's head gasket blows. And I call Diana and say, hey, Diana, the first few weeks of training have been great. I'm really enjoying them. But unfortunately, my car's just broken down. Can I have my cash back? Is Diana going to give me my money back? No. And rightfully so, right? Not that consumer law suggests she shouldn't have to. And also she's already delivering me a service, right? So in that circumstance, the human brain says the only potential negative is to agree to something. Upon agreement, I'm now going to have to be held accountable to the decision that I have made. So keep this in your mind. Every single time you pose the human being with a yes or no decision, their default answer is no. If you have somebody walk into your boardroom and say, hey, can I grab you a coffee? Would you like a coffee? Would you like a glass of water? The person goes, oh, no, I'm fine, thank you. And then sits there for the next 20 minutes like this. Right? Why? Why did they say no to a glass of water? Default answer. Every single time I walk into my mother-in-law's home, I married an Italian girl. Every time I walk into a family's house, they try and feed me. Oh, Jack, do you want a sandwich? No, I'm fine. Honestly, I'm fine, thank you. And as soon as I finish saying it, I'm like, oh, unless you're doing that grilled chicken with the eggplant sandwich with the garlic aioli on Turkish bread. But my default brain just said, say no. Human beings love having options. So if I instead say to you, I'm just about to make myself a coffee, would you prefer a tea or coffee? I'm just about to make myself a cold glass of water, would you prefer a water or a juice? The customer is going to be far more inclined to choose one. So quite often when you're booking appointments, you'll say to the client, great, and when's best for you? And they'll say, oh, let me go away, let me check my diary, let me speak to my husband. And then many days will pass and sometimes you never get that appointment. If you ask the customer, are you available Friday at 3? You've just asked them a yes and no question, meaning their reptilian complex, their defender, is inclined to say no. But if instead you were to ask somebody, when would be best for me to give you a call next? The end of this week or the start of next? They will pick one. If they say the start of next, you go, brilliant. Monday or Tuesday, they will pick one. Morning or afternoon, they will pick one. 1 p.m. or 3:30 p.m., they will pick one. That is called semi-closed questioning, leading to decision funneling. If you take nothing away from this session with me except this, please let it be that you will never, ever, ever again present your client just one option to proceed with your services. Never ask them, do they or don't they wish to proceed? It could instead be, so do you want to proceed with the exact same package on a 3-month or a 12-month agreement? Make sense? It could be, do you want 3 or 5 of them? It could be, do you want small, medium, or large? It could be 2 or 3 completely different options. But I ask people, like, use the automotive example. You could have the same car, but 1 manual and 1 automatic. Same car, but 1 petrol and 1 diesel. Same car, but 1 2-litre and 1 3-litre. And that's when I would say, great, Ryan. And based on everything we've discussed today, would you prefer to make the blue or the silver option your own? With 2 options, Ryan is not inclined to say no. He's inclined to pick his favorite. I hope that makes sense for everybody as we're going through, okay? So human beings love options, but guess what they hate having? Too many of them. Human beings love options, but guess what they hate having? Too many of them. When you give a human being 4 or more options to decide from, they will suffer from paralysis by analysis. And quite often, they will be rendered unable to decide. Is there anybody on this conversation that's been stupid enough to build their own home before? From like buy a block of dirt, engage a builder, an architect, and build a home? For those of you that said yes, are you still married? Did your marriage get through that build? Nicole, I was married to the builder. Well, I don't know if that makes it better or worse along the way. But Anna Tinsley, no, she isn't married. Diana, no, you aren't married. Well, hopefully that explains my example. Sometimes too many options serve the polar opposite benefit. Okay? Whenever you did engage the builder, remember when they said to you, what tiles do you want for your bathroom? And sent you over a list of 1,150 of them to choose from, right? Whereas for me, I just said, I want a 1x1 white tile. So he sent me 63 1x1 white tiles. I didn't think it could be this difficult, right? Until eventually you actually just become frustrated. So if I was you, I would have a tendency to present a minimum of 2, but an absolute maximum of 3 options at all times. And quite usually, remember, human beings have something that we call the happy medium syndrome. Do you know when posed with the small, medium, and large option, over 75% of people will choose medium? Let's quickly practice this in here. If I said to you guys, you can have a small, regular, or large coffee, kids, medium, or original boost juice, what size do you guys usually choose? What are you guys? The small, medium, or the large? Large coffee because it's coffee. Yeah, coffee might not have been the best example, actually. But what I'm seeing in here at the minute is Mandy, medium, Chris, medium, Emma, medium, Jade, medium, Nicole, medium, Sarah, medium, Leah, medium. So again, what I would probably start to do is look at the consumer psychology and use a little bit of an algebra-based equation for my pricing. So if I was going to present 3 options, option 1 would be at the price of A. Option 2 would be A plus 30%. And option 3 would be 3 to 5 times A. So in an example, option 1's $1,000, option 2's $1,300, and option 3 is $3,000 to $5,000. In the event you use that psychology in the consumer process, you will now push yourself closer to 85% of people who will choose the medium option. The most profitable wine in the middle. You know it, Nick. As a matter of fact, in restaurants, we teach, Nick, if anybody owns a restaurant, your second cheapest wine should be your most profitable. The second cheapest. If you've got 7, 5 doesn't, still the second cheapest is the most purchased wine on any menu. Because we're not cheap, right? You don't want to order house wine. God, you look poor, won't you? I don't want people to laugh at me. I'm quite successful, actually, I'll have you know. So I'm going to order the $9 glass, not the $8 glass instead, right? So I can maintain my own reputation and self-pride. Yeah? Have a little think about that. If you wanted a good reference point, I mean, software right now, I believe, is the most successful industry in the sales game. Couple of reasons. Number one, most software companies never communicate with you. They have no personnel. They do not require the human being to aid you to make your decision. But also, usually they have 3 packages. They have the good, the best and better, or good, better, best. And if you look at Netflix, great example. YouTube, great example. How many of you have signed up for 30 days for free on Audible or Netflix or KO or Stan, and you now pay them $12 a month, every month? Quite often in the modern day consumption in 2020, it's very difficult in some industries, but we are wanting to try before we buy. And you will often find that you can get people to join your services. I mean, I don't know if I couldn't recall if we've actually ever tried this at Swish before, but if we said to you, join our academy completely free of charge today, and on day 30, you will be charged X amount of dollars every month thereafter, then there would be no negative to you to try it. And quite usually the value will speak for itself, which is when you will decide to continue utilizing a program that can be now beneficial to you and profitable to the organization that's offering it to you. So have a little think about that. I want you to write down something for me. Some people are so scared of making the wrong decision, they would rather not make a decision at all. Some people are so scared of making the wrong decision, they would rather not make a decision at all. So I think in 2021, one thing that you can seriously consider adding to your sales processes, not by standard, but for the right customer, is an explanation of the 2 to 3 worst case scenarios that could possibly exist from making the decision to engage your business. Now, some of you are here thinking, hold on, what? I thought everything we were taught was never raise negativity, never talk about the downside. Yeah, in 1990, 2000, and most of 2010s. But unfortunately, we are at a generation now where we have been let down too many times. Too many times. We've lost our trust. We've lost our faith. Can I ask you honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low and 10 being high, how much do you trust our government or the politicians that run our country at the moment? 1 being low and 10 being high. How much do you trust our government or the politicians that run our government at the moment? Nicole Anderson has given, Ivor has given me the very best rating. So out of every single person in here, the best one of you thinks they are a 6 out of 10. So at best, they are buck average. All right, let me ask you another question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low and 10 being high, how much do you trust the banks with whom run this country financially? Wow. I'm going to ask you one more question. So again, none of you trust the bank. Virtually none of you trust the government. Basically, none of you trust your bank. Let me ask you another question. Who trusts the people that are currently managing their superannuation? Do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust the people that are preparing your finances for retirement? With the exception of Chris Wheeler, Again, very, very few of you. So would it be fair of you to say, with most of us, that we've lost our confidence? We've lost our faith, we've lost our trust, and as a matter of fact, we expect to be let down. We expect to be let down. We have the lowest consumer expectations in history. Has anybody ever ordered something from Wish before? That is the epitome of shit products, shit service, and as soon as it arrives, you very quickly ask yourself the question, why do I go internet shopping at 8:30 after a couple of glasses of wine? Because I end up buying completely irrelevant shit that I never needed. So I believe today we have the greatest opportunity in history to supersede our clients' expectations, because I think they are the most dissatisfied customer base with the lowest level of expectation that we've ever met. So I'm going to ask you a question. You've got 60 seconds to do this as quickly and as efficiently as you can. All I need is the company's name. I'm not going to ask you to name and shame them. This is only going to be for your own records. But when I say go, I'm going to give you 60 seconds to write down the name of every company that you can think of that ever left you feeling dissatisfied. Every single company that you feel overpromised and underdelivered. Every company who did not meet or exceed your expectations. Okay? I don't need the product, I don't need when, and I don't need why. I just need the company's name. All right? I'm going to switch on a stopwatch here. I'm going to give you guys 60 seconds to do that. That starts now. Whoever didn't follow through, not into the chat section, just, oh God, everybody put Telstra. Just onto your piece of paper for me in front of you. Just keep jotting down as many as you can on that piece of paper. It's funny because the one at the top of my list is Telstra as well. Keep jotting them down. Another 35 seconds to go. Whoever didn't deliver, charged too much, was difficult to communicate with, didn't fulfill their warranty, got out of an agreement on some bullshit terms and conditions, ever just didn't deliver their product and told you it was your fault, ever told you needed something you didn't, so on and so forth. 10 seconds to go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Into the chat section for me. Now just write down how many of those were you able to think of in 60 seconds? Just jot it down for me. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many experiences? Jot those down for me. Nicole 5, Nick 4, Neil 5, 8, Diana 8, Mandy 5, Damon 4, Emma 5, Sarah 7, Jessica 9. Okay, so if I said the average in there is about 6 or 7, that means that in 60 seconds, once every 8 seconds, you can think of a company that let you down. I'm going to reset this stopwatch. In 60 seconds, on the piece of paper, doesn't need to go into the chat section, write down the name of every company that blew you away. Every company that so far exceeded your expectations, you couldn't not only wait to use them again, but you couldn't wait to tell a friend or family member that they had to do the same. Jot down as many of those on your piece of paper as you possibly can. You got 15 seconds to go. Keep thinking. Who's ever just absolutely blown you away? Four, 3, 2, 1, done. Into the chat section for me. Jot down how many. Not the names of the companies, but how many. Nick's got 3. Jess 5. Nicole 5. Got 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 3. Okay, I'm going to say the average in there was about maybe 3 to 4, maybe 3.5. So what that exercise tells you is you're able to remember twice as many occasions, or you're able to remember twice as quickly an experience that didn't meet your expectations than one that did. Go back to the idea, word of mouth has become word of mouse. Now, more than ever, online visibility, especially customer reviews of happy clients that are, shouting from the rooftops of the fantastic service they've received from you, becomes such an essential part of the sales process. Now, I know that any of you who do join the Swish Bootcamp 2021, Ryan's going to teach a lot about the optimal timing for that request, because it's not just about asking for a review, it's about how you ask and when you ask that really, really makes the difference. So that's something that I think that you guys can pay a thought to and certainly consider in the future. But I'm going to ask you, with the last 3 minutes I've got left before you go into Q&A, I'm going to ask you to write down a quote by Donald Porter. Donald Porter said, "Customers do not expect you to be perfect." Customers do not expect you to be perfect. But they do expect you to help them fix things when they go wrong. Customers do not expect you to be perfect, but they do expect you to help them fix things when they go wrong. And to me, that should be the minimum expectation. Your most irate customer is often your greatest source of learning. It was Bill Gates that told us that, right? Your most irate customer is often your greatest source of learning. And the irate customer with whom you bend over backwards to assist, you ensure that you meet all of their needs and expectations, fulfill all of the promises that you made pre-sale, actually end up becoming your most dedicated, loyal, and heaviest referring clients once you have been able to work with them to overcome their challenge. So I would ask you, when a challenge does present itself, number one, deal with that problem at source. Deal with it at source. Don't think dealing with it tomorrow is going to make it easier for you or is going to remove the concern of the client. Deal with it at source. Problems only become bigger over time. Number two, do not pass the buck or blame. Even if it was not you who made the mistake, you are the trusted advisor inside the institution with which they've engaged. So you need to take accountability and ownership and say, my team did not fulfill your expectations, and for that today, I can only apologize. I cannot change what has happened before today, but I can positively impact and influence what happens from here moving forward. And like most things in life, just remember, communication is the key to a successful relationship. If you told that client you would solve the problem by 5 o'clock today and you have been unable to, that is okay. People will forgive that. But call them at 4:55 to say, I have been working on this tirelessly, but have yet to resolve it. Please excuse me until 12 p.m. tomorrow, 2 p.m. tomorrow. And if by 12 or 2 you have not solved the problem, continue to communicate. Customers don't expect you to be perfect. They just expect you to fix things and help them when they go wrong. So in summary, I believe 2021 is the birth of the anti-sales industry, where you will only be able to sell on a permissive, not an interruptive line of communication. I believe the everyday consumer is truly seeking an ultimately transparent, no BS experience. And we are now so emotionally intelligent that I believe that real really can recognize real. And I'll summarize that with an experience I had myself with Aussie Broadband. Anybody with a quick yes? Anybody got their internet with Aussie Broadband? Someone Telstra. Hopefully you don't need to ring them and sort it. But I'm with Aussie Broadband. Aussie Broadband sent me an email to say, we made an F up. That's what they said. We've made an F up. We put you on a plan that was not profitable to our business. During COVID, the cost of your service has significantly increased, and for us to still be a business that's in operation in a year's time to continue offering it to you, we need to increase your plan from $89 to $99 a month. We hope this transparent, no BS approach we've taken to being real about the mistake we have made will allow you to be comfortable in continuing to be our client. I thought it was fucking brilliant. I was like, imagine walking out to somebody, you've just sold something, a boot camp for $2,000, they just paid, and you go, oh, by the way, I actually got the price wrong. It's more than that, right? But I am not going to cancel my Aussie broadband. As a matter of fact, I think I just fell in love. I think I just fell in love with that company. I think that is absolutely brilliant. So just remember, real recognizes real. Transparency and honesty will be the key to both starting, maintaining, and continuing to grow high quality relationships. Guys, 48 minutes, which was good for me, only running 3 minutes over. My name's been Jack Corbett. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it.
Let's put your hands together for Jack quickly. Jack, don't go anywhere. Okay, amazing. Just on that note, before I do forget, guys, obviously the offer I did before lunch, yeah, you might get a phone call. That was about $500 off the mark. So we'll be upselling you guys very, very quickly to the real price point. Jack, mate, that was unbelievable. I knew it would be. So many nuggets of gold in there and great comments coming through as well. So we've got about 11 minutes to get some. Mate, I've got a bit of leeway. Can you believe that I buffered some extra time after you, just in case you were ran over by any chance?
Just so you guys know, me and Ryan have been close friends for nearly a decade. We've been business partners for 6.5 years. If something starts at 1:30, he tells me it starts at 1. That was just like today. I was actually ready from 12:35 from the 1 o'clock speed, but yeah, I was born 2 days late and I've spent most of my life that way. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me you put an extra 10 minutes on the end.
Easy, mate. So I've got a couple of questions that have come through. And guys, if you've got any other questions that you want Jack to kind of just speed answer, type them in. I'm going to go straight to one from David. David put, have you got any daily / personal rituals, mate, to kind of keep yourself on track, keep yourself motivated?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big believer in kind of like the miracle morning. I believe the way a day starts is the way a day will go. So I took an approach from somebody that may have already been mentioned throughout this, somebody me and Ryan really idolize, an American Asian gentleman called Jim Quick. And he gave me a 10-step program to starting my day, which involves mindfulness, journaling, nutrition, exercise, goal setting, or more intention setting. But yeah, I think if you were to start with kind of those 5 or 6 major pillars, the way a day starts is the way a day will go. You know, 90% of your brain is made up of water. Look to consume as much water as early in the day as you possibly can to keep yourself hydrated. Look to physically exert yourself, getting your heart rate above about 160 beats, 170 beats per minute, getting into a somewhat anaerobic state, breaking a sweat, releasing those endorphins creates a lot of positivity and a lot of self-belief early in the day. As you'll probably be able to see, I don't know if my bookshelf is quite going to get into the camera, but I'm a really avid reader. I commit to reading a minimum of twice every single day. So consuming a little bit of content, setting my own goals for the day or intentions for the day, and then having just a few minutes of what I call true silence, no white or gray noise, to allow me to just center myself. They're some of the ways that I like, the morning rituals, some of the ways I like to start my day. Outside of that, I like to give gratitude every single day. So I generally start my day at my gratitude board, either 5 outward verbalizations of gratitude, or I choose 5 people and I send them a message of gratitude to thank them for whatever value they might be adding to my community or to my life.
Amazing, amazing, guys. If you didn't get all of that, I'm obviously going to get the recording to run that back down.
Dan, I'm still doing the cold showers. Dan, that is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. If any of you look up the Wim Hof training as well, I don't know if you've ever tried this, but have a hot shower and just crank it freezing cold and see how long you can stay in there. Start doing that for over a minute. The actual sort of like metaphysical reward from it is incredible, but man, that's a hard thing to do. If anyone's ever actually tried that, super, super hard thing to do. Yeah, sorry to.
No, you're good, mate. That's good. I've got a question from Luke that came in yesterday. It says, mate, you're all tatted up. shall we say. Do you feel that it affects your ability to sell face to face?
I do. Yeah, I definitely think there's a generational change that is being impacted where it's becoming less relevant. But having tattoos on my hands and, you know, a stupid mustache tattooed on my finger from when I was a teenage boy, they definitely don't serve a professional impression. And I know that some people, although they have never referenced it, have chosen not to do business with me based on my appearance. I mean, this is the longest my hair's been for a little while. I decided to shave all my hair off. I'm covered in tattoos. I very rarely ever wear a suit. And I guess that you do need to create an appropriate impression of success and professionalism that says you're the right company to engage. So I don't want to say it because it may well just be my own limiting belief, but I think highly visible tattoos on necks, faces, and hands, if you don't already have them, seriously consider what detriment they might serve to your ability to build relationships. Yeah, and I'm talking like ASX listed, you know, blue chip level. You know, if you're talking to Mick the mechanic, it possibly doesn't matter so much.
Amazing, mate. Last couple of questions, because I know your time's valuable as well. I've got, and it's interesting, Damon just put there, I connected with you because of your tattoo. I know he's got the infinity sign as I am awesome for his boat as well. So pretty amazing. Frank Fiamora, Jack, if you were a third generation in a family business, what would you do as a game changer to make your family have confidence and trust in what you do in the business?
That's a really, really good question, Frank. And it's super hard, right? Because generational businesses are often left in the legacy of best practice considered by the person before them. Your grandfather was a great man. Your father's a great man. But your grandfather was a man that grew up in the pre-internet era, before we had access to digital or social marketing, and before we were in a position where you could reach the masses at scale so quickly and so cheaply. So I respect your question, and having known you, Frank, and for some of you, I was actually at Frank's winery in February, just before COVID. I had to go to a wedding in Leeton, New South Wales. That place is in the absolute arse end of nowhere. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Griffith, but it feels like Ivan Milat's backyard, right? But when you get to that winery, there's something about it, Frank. It has like an aura at the front gate of like history, and it feels like it's steeped in tradition. So what I don't want to do is my piece of advice to drag you away from the tradition that is 100 years of winemaking by the Fiamora family. But what I do believe is you have some great ideas that are being rejected by the senior members of your family because it's not inside their kind of scope of understanding. So what I would do is one of two things. I would produce both like first party and third party case studies. So what I would potentially consider doing is getting an external third party auditor. Yes, this may cost a few hundred or maybe even a couple of $1,000s, but in the grandest scheme of doubling the size of your business in the next 5 years, it will become a drop in the ocean. But asking an external auditor to come in and analyze both existing business operations and also proposed future business operations and look at them from a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats perspective. Sometimes when an external non-biased third party says your idea is a good idea, your family are more willing to listen to you. Another way would to be actually to find a third party case study of another company somewhere in the world that already did what you're suggesting. Because if you're able to say, hey, here's ABC company that in 2010 made the decision I'm asking us to make. Prior to 2010, this was their performance. In 2020, this is their performance. And that, you know, huge amount of growth they have achieved is being attributed to the decision that I'm asking us to make. If you now have a third-party example where what you're asking to do works, they may well be more inclined to consider it.
Yeah, nice, JC. Damien Lim, what is your best advice for a 20-year-old sales guy or girl trying to make it in sales, entrepreneurship, or business?
That's a really good question. First of all, drop the idea that you're 20. Age is just a number. If you consider yourself young, then you will present yourself young, and you know, your immaturity will shine through the relationships that you're able to establish. I was 19 years of age with 110 staff running $1 million a week business, and I didn't even have a high school diploma. You know, I didn't finish grade 12. So scrap this idea that you're 20 to start with. But what's my best advice for somebody trying to make it in sales, entrepreneurship, and business in general would be center your work around your passion. Do what you absolutely love. And typically, I always think the best thing to sell is something you love to buy. Like whatever I said, when I said to you, I'm going to give you my credit card, here's $1,000, go and spend it. Whatever you would have spent that $1,000 on is probably a really good thing for you to work selling because you obviously really love it. I'm going to be quite vulnerable here and admit the fact that in January of this year, I fell out of love with sales training. I had been doing it all day, every day, 80 hours a week for 6 years. And I kind of felt a bit like Daryl Braithwaite singing Horses. And I just didn't know if I loved that song anymore, right? So what I had to do is detach myself for a few months, blessed on the fact I've got Ryan. Without Ryan, that would never have been possible. Any of you who are sole business owners in here, God bless every one of you, because that's a different road. It's just a different journey to being in a team or in a partnership. But I had to step away to then come back to this session today, the very first sales training session I've done in 6 months. And I don't know if you can see it in me, but I've got this fire in my belly again, because sometimes it's like absence makes the heart grow fonder. So what I would say is think less and do more. Stop seeking perfection, seek progression. It's just about being better today than you were yesterday. And ultimately center your selling or entrepreneurial ventures around something that if you had enough money, you would buy it or do it all day, every day. I think that would be a good piece of advice to start.
Yeah, I love it. If you wouldn't buy it, don't sell it. If you wouldn't sell it to your grandmother, don't sell it. Jack, I'm from Amber.
My saying, what's good for one is good for your mother. Use that as your litmus test. When I was a less ethical person, when Ryan first met me back in, say, 2011, 12, when we were more in that smash it down people's throat, buy or die mentality, tell them there's only one day left, there's only 3 units left, all this crap. Back then, I had a philosophy. It was called the today tonight test. Is the decision I'm making going to put me on today tonight? If it's not, sell it to them. That's not the way to run your business. Have the philosophy, what's good for one is good for my mother. If you would not be encouraging your mother to do this, don't bloody encourage somebody else's.
Nice, man. I like it. I'm going to squeeze 2 more out of you because I know people are enjoying it. Amber Kirsten, best advice for mastering an elevator pitch?
I would say that the best advice to mastering an elevator pitch is, I guess, owning the words. So initially I would always focus on the idea that less is more. And we're really looking to tick 5 goals. Who am I? What service do I fundamentally offer? Who do I offer it to? What value does it deliver to them? And why do I do this? If I can understand why you do it in the first place, what you do, how you do it, and who it helps, that will typically leave me with enough information that says, wow, okay, well, would you have a business card? Where would I be able to find you guys online? So it's funny because we teach one thing, but I implement another. Like people say to me, like what we teach is PITCH, a 5-stage, 30-second process to delivering an elevator pitch. I don't do that. People ask me, what do you do for a living? And I say, I help everyday Australians to utilize their superannuation to purchase an investment property. I help everyday Australians to utilize their superannuation to buy an investment property. And I leave it at that one sentence. So I think less is more. Anything that truly defines who you are, why you do it, how you help people, and what value it delivers. But I will put my hand up and tell you, you listen to me and Ryan, his elevator pitch blows mine out of the water. So probably should redirect that question back at him.
I'll come back to that. I've just made a note. I'm going to actually go through pitch right at the end of the day. For those people that are still around at 5, from 5:15 till 5:30, I'm going to sneak that in right at the end of the day for you. And I'm going to give you exactly what Jack just explained there. That's what we would call a headline elevator pitch. And then we'll go for the 30 to 60 second full pelt one as well. One more question coming from Lucas. Last one, guys. I do apologize. What was the one thing, or was there a one thing that you started that you did that started to produce success? Can you put your finger on one thing that you went, yeah, that was the catalyst?
Yeah, I definitely can. Yeah, I can almost pick the moment to the minute that it happened, and it was purely mindset. You are what you think you are. Simple. And for me, I have on to far too many limiting beliefs. How can a kid that's raised on a housing commission, that's been kicked out of school, has no formal education, whose mother went bankrupt when he was 9 years of age, whose mother's a cancer patient, that failed with his very first business, you know, how can somebody this young, because I was 18, 19 at the time and over $1 million a year, I just used to self-sabotage. I used to just believe that I wasn't worthy, and that people from my beginnings in life, you know, my father's been to prison, blah, blah, all these things. I've got Asperger's, autism. I had about 10 really good reasons that I should be unsuccessful. And quite simply, you become a product of the stories that you tell yourself. And I decided to change that story. A bit like Damon, I said, I am awesome. I am great. I am unstoppable. I can achieve anything I put my mind to. I am going to be a self-made millionaire by the age of 21 and a self-made billionaire by the age of 40. No one in my family had ever owned a home. I will buy every single member of my immediate family a home. Every single one of them will have a reliable vehicle. Second to omit, I started to believe in me. Self-belief created, I guess self-awareness created self-belief. Self-belief created self-confidence, and self-confidence created self-appreciation. Today, with no ego, I love me. I think I'm the man. And I love everything about my character. And I think once you're truly aligned with self and you're abundant in your belief of self, you very quickly realize that out of the 517 billionaires in the world, 70% of those are self-made. And over 10% of those have learning difficulties. If Jack Ma and Richard Branson can make $1 billion, why can't Jack Corbett? They got 24 hours. They got to eat. They got to shit. They got to sleep. What made them different to me? And from that day forward, I just decided I was a billionaire. And my only job now was to have the relentless discipline to take the actions that will lead me to that position. Once you are a billionaire, it's hard not to like yourself.
If you had a microphone, I'll get you to drop it at that point. But what I will do is get everybody to give Jack a big round of applause.
Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, guys. You're all amazing. And you literally, every one of you has a better, base level of education, understanding, awareness, and opportunity than I ever had. I ask you, are you willing to match my drive and determination? Because I haven't met many that were. Yeah, but you go and have some fun with it. Thank you so much, Ryan. ISR team, this wouldn't be possible without you guys either. Thank you for all the hard work that goes into putting days like this together so that people can extract value from them. It means a hell of a lot.
Amazing. Cheers, mate. Take it easy. Have a good Arvo, and I'll see you on Saturday.
We will do. Take care, guys. Thanks.